were born into a tremendous place of faith in the Catholic faith. I was not. I was called to it later in life. And I started going to Mass every day. That was in 1995. I went to daily Mass. No matter what city of the 30 NHL teams I was in, I went to daily Mass. I can tell you where every Catholic church is, who the pastor was at the time. I went to every daily Mass that I was on the road and at home. But yet I play by the rules. That's what I did. I enforced the rules in the NHL, and I had to play by the rules. I couldn't make my own rules up. I longed for the Eucharist, because in the Eucharist, I knew that there was the real presence of Jesus Christ. I knew it, and I'll tell you how I knew it, is because when I would go to daily Mass and the priest would consecrate the bread and wine and transfiguration took place, and everyone would be going up to receive communion, I would pray for spiritual communion. I'd say, Lord, please, I may never be worthy. You may never deem me worthy to come and receive you. But if you would only, in your mercy, give me spiritual communion. And I felt a hand upon my heart. I had tears rolling down my cheeks. I physically felt him touch me. And I knew that he was alive, he was well, he was on the altar, he was there in the most holy Eucharist, fully present. So for me, that was the gift of a very beautiful spiritual conversion. Catholic Athletes for Christ is an organization that is a place to set an example. Pope John Paul, in his encyclical, talked about evangelizing through sport, that all of us are called to be athletes, athletes for Christ. And that's what we do. I want to just share one last thing before I go here. I wrote a book on the last, just a week after my final game. We often wonder, is there some way that we could make a difference? Can we make a difference in life? Sometimes we never know. There's a couple of stories in here that show and demonstrated to me that there was a difference made, and it was a very simple thing. I want to talk to you about a guy named Theo Fleury. Theoren Fleury was a terrific little player, but he had all kinds of issues. He was addicted to drugs, alcohol, and he ended up being totally out of control. He was abused by a hockey coach in Canada as a 14-year-old who is now in prison for abusing many other players, that some that played on the NHL. But Theo was a guy that was in my face all the time. He would spit, he would stutter, he would curse and swear. In 1996, he wrote in his book, Playing with Fire, about an incident he and I had in Chicago in the second game of the Stanley Cup playoffs that year. He attacked me verbally, foul, vile language. He took his helmet off. He threw it at me. It hit my skate. Now the fight in me and the adrenaline was flowing. My leg was quivering. I wanted to kick it back in his face, but instead, calm came over me, and I did the professional thing. I ejected him from the game. Well, that's not the end of the story, because it comes full circle. My objective was always to try to find the better way, to try and do the right thing. And in this 4 years later, in Madison Square Garden, December 20th of 2000, Theo Fleury was now a free agent, signed with the New York Rangers for $8 million a year. But the league put him in the substance abuse program right off the bat. He didn't start the season. This same guy, Theo Fleury, that cursed and swore and threw his helmet at me, and so many other incidents that occurred between us, came to me at the end of the first period on December 20th against the St. Louis Blues in Madison Square Garden with tears coming down his cheeks. He said, Kerry, it's the end of the first period. He said, Kerry, I'm really trying to clean up my life. I haven't done coke in over a month. I haven't had anything to drink in over a month. Don't let him talk to me like that. I said, who? What? He said, Tyson Nash, second-year pro with the St. Louis Blues, had trash-talked him at the end of the first period in a scrum. I asked him what he said. It was bad. I said, now, I have a choice, right? Like you have a choice every day. I had a choice. Do I tell Theo Fleury, that ragged on me, cursed at me, threw his helmet at me, so many other things, do I say, it looks good on you? Good for him. You deserve it. I saw before me a wounded human being. I saw someone that needed a hug. I saw one of my children standing there that was in pain. I wanted to embrace him. I quickly decided that there was a better way. Taking my Catholic values and faith, I said, Theo, if I can get Tyson Nash back here at the start of this next period, second period, right here on this spot, and give you a sincere apology, will you accept it like a man? He said, yes, I will. I said, now promise me you won't break a stick over his head. He said, I promise. I went right into the coach of the St. Louis Blues in the visiting coach's room, Joel Quenneville. I said, Joel, this is what your guy said to Theo. Joel rolled his eyes. He said, do you want me to tell him to take his stuff off? He thought I was going to eject him from the game. I said, no, what do you think about this? Apology. He said, great idea. Well, I had Theo standing at the red line where the Rangers come on and off at the start of the second period. Out came the St. Louis Blues. I flagged over Tyson Nash, second-year pro. Real pain in the butt, always in trouble. Drawn penalties. Tyson came over, his lip was quivering. He gave a solemn apology. He tapped Theo on the shin pad. He said, Theo, I want to wish you well in all you've got ahead of you. I thought that was the end of it. They shook hands, the game ended, we played on, done. 10 years after that, I finished my career, I'm writing the book, and I called Tyson Nash, wanted to share that story in my book. The phone went quiet. He said, Kerry, that was a life-altering experience for me. It was career-changing. I said, tell me more. He told me that he, and wrote in his own words in the book, he said, I was not that kind of person, but I was playing a role. I put on a uniform, and I was told that if I became the most hated guy in the NHL, that I would have a job with the St. Louis Blues. My aspiration, I wanted to stay there. I finally got there after years in the minor leagues, and I was going to do everything I could to stay. Well, there's a great message in that story. There's a great message in that story, because can we make a difference? Can you make a difference? Yeah. Yes, you can. It can be just by being nice, something simple, but it can be living your Catholic faith, being an example to everyone that you encounter. So, Athletes for Christ, I had embroidered on my skates 2 passages, and I hope that you will on your cleats, on your shoes. One is Proverbs 31, 10 to 31. What is a wife? What is a good wife? When I lace that skate up, I think of my wife and my children. On the other side, I have 1 Corinthians 13, 1 through 13. What is love? Love is patient, love is kind. You know the rest of it. So, as we live our faith, and Tim Tebow puts on John on his cheeks, put on your armor of Christ. God bless you. Thank you so much for your time. Have a great Congress.